Well, as I said, our aim is to bring you strong opinions, but only those we can support with facts. Hence our motto, in God we trust, everybody else bring data. Let's turn to a data set that I think is particularly revealing given the heated rhetoric on climate change right now. It's a chart that shows the annual GDP per capita growth in Portugal from 1995 to 2003. Now, as you can see, back in the mid-90s, the Portuguese economy seemed to be ticking along quite nicely, growing at just under 4% a year. 7 years later, in 2002, it was heading for the swamp, and the following year, it went into recession. Well, that's what happens when you elect a socialist as Prime Minister, someone with great ideas about government spending, but no idea whatsoever about economic growth. Portugal's Prime Minister during that period between 1995 and 2002 was Antonio Guterres, who's the bloke on the right of this picture standing next to a young Tony Blair. Now, he resigned in the middle of his second term, saying that he wanted to prevent Portugal from, quote, falling into a political quagmire. Those are his words. And having failed in politics, Guterres began a career in diplomacy, where he's done pretty well. 5 years ago, they made him Secretary General of the United Nations, the world's most powerful bureaucrat, in other words. Now, this week he opened the United Nations annual climate change conference in the Egyptian tourist city of Sharm el-Sheikh. Have a look.
And the clock is ticking. We are in the fight of our lives, and we are losing. Greenhouse gas emissions keep growing. Global temperatures keep rising. And our planet is fast approaching tipping points that will make climate chaos irreversible. We are on a highway to climate hell with our foot still on the accelerator.
Antonio Guterres, the UN Secretary General. Back in his days as a politician, incidentally, his nickname was the Talking Chainsaw. And after that speech, I think we can see why. Now, this year's UN conference goes by the name of COP27. COP1 was held in Berlin in 1995, where the representatives of 150 states gathered to agree on a joint strategy to lower the concentration of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere. Well, 27 COPs later, let's turn to the data again and see how well they're doing. Back in 1995, the estimated total emissions worldwide tipped the scales at 33.5 billion tonnes. Fast forward to 2019, the year before the COVID pandemic, and the global emissions total has risen to 50 billion tonnes. Our viewers with keen eyesight might be able to see a little blue bit at the bottom. Well, that's Australia's contribution to the global total, and it's barely changed over that time, despite our rising population and rising economic output.